What was so interesting about this piece was how it was able to navigate lighting in particular. There was sort of the blue hinge early on as it transformed into other set pieces, especially towards the end with the different gradients with the wife and the baby. I thought it was a really interesting setup because it did so much with so little. It only plays out within the house itself. And I thought the lead actor in particular was really great in sort of not just being expressive, but sort of navigating like silence, and this it really contributed to like what the scares. There was a lot of jump scares that I thought really worked well. And in general, there was a very cohesive idea that wasn't just about sort of being scary, but about being sort of ruminative and sort of what it means to be alone and the feel how you're dealing with your own self. And there was an interesting theme about trying to change but being trapped at the same time. So I thought it was a really good piece, both visually and cinematically, and the music in particular really did tie everything together.
Kind of like a cacophony of sounds and like minute details of like day to day, like the insert shots of like just dust or water dripping, just like these small details that are seemingly unnoticeable, but once they're put into this perspective, it's all very overwhelming. And I think that goes into the piece and how it's watching this person kind of go crazy with anxiety and the fear of not knowing. And it's very clear that this was like a COVID central piece, and watching this fear of unknowing and these small things go crazy and this isolation and just having it build, and you build the tension very well. I think there were a lot of great editing choices, like I said, with these cut shots to these small, small details that would usually go unnoticed, but in this they mean so much. I really enjoyed that. It really built in the pacing of the piece and overall made it really anxiety inducing, which is, the goal.
The soundscape. I thought it was very intentionally used. It was more or less a quiet film, but then it would cut to a scene very quickly, like the shower, and the shower sounds would be so loud, and then it would cut back to like a quiet, more serene scene, and it was very jarring for the listener. And I think that the use of that was really effective in creating that like jump scare almost, right? It's like you can never be too comfortable because you don't know what's going to happen next. So I thought that was really a really effective tool to use. I enjoyed the conversation with the landlord a lot. You could really just like sense the frustration. This guy was like just, this landlord was so unlikable, was so just out of touch with what was going on. And you really feel for the protagonist here. It was a really interesting film. I think also the news reporter and that kind of like a psychosis kind of interpretation of it, where he's like wearing the horns and kind of speaking all of this wild stuff. It just kind of helps you just delve into like the psychosis of it all and how just like out of reality we are. Nothing is right. Nothing is right in this film, and I thought that they did a really good job of that.
I thought it did a really great job of capturing what it felt like in the midst of COVID-19, all of that anxiety and claustrophobia and feeling stuck and helpless. And it did a really great job capturing that in a physical sense and representing that on screen. I thought that all the insert shots were really creepy and eye-catching. Like we had the blood-filled mouth, and all those like capturing the dust on the tiles and all that stuff sort of reminded me of COVID times and worrying about every little speck of dust and dirt, and I thought that was cool to show that in this film. It did a great job with the idea of an invisible assailant. Just this guy is running from himself, he's running from something that we can't see, and later we learn that it's COVID that is the main villain in this film. But I thought it did a great job of ramping up that suspense for this invisible enemy that he's running from. Especially at the end with the jump scares and the ramping up of the suspense. The structure of this works really well with building that up until the very end, until we're on the edge of our seats. And so these jump scares really get us. And I thought they did a great job with that as well. And also the music worked with that as well. And I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was a great representation of that awful anxiety that COVID brought all of us.
I really like the cinematography, the visual vocabulary, the framing, and the shot selection and composition. Excellent. The blue color palette was a vibe, yo. But I really want to shout out the editing and the sound design because, like, one, the shots, made this one location feel like a whole world, but then the editing and the sound design really brought brought the emotion and the rhythm to the story. So yeah, like I think this like really came together in the edit. So whoever edited, it seemed like it was just that one guy, Jonathon, whatever. If not, whoever edited, excellent work. Whoever did the sound design, excellent work. Great job, yo.
I love this premise. It is very real and timely. I love the consistency of the lighting. Like, I felt all the events happen at the same specific time in this different day, but you needed the day markers that they put, like episode titles, to understand that it's a new day. I just thought that was very clever, and I really liked the smoothness of the lighting, and this setting, this house was perfect for this story. My favorite scene was with the liquid mirror. That effect, I loved it, and in this voice and the realization that the character makes there. Also, a time when he interacts through the floor, and this individual tells our main character that he needs to let him in, which is super terrifying. I love the music and sound effects. Also the special effects of the whole shadows and understanding that this is somehow haunting him, and that creature somehow also resides in the basement. We talked about grief, heartbreak, deep loneliness. It's just mysterious, creepy, and quite entertaining. This is an amazing job. I totally loved it. I love the end as well.
Has a lot to compact into just 50 minutes. It had a unique sound score. There were times where I wanted to scratch my head out, scratch my ears off, just because of sounds like chewing in the phone, which I think was done to show how annoying the landlord was and kind of out of touch with reality he was and greedy. The whistling, some weird sounds I think were purposely made to drive us a little crazy, which was a unique take. I do like that they put in a news reporter that sounds like how most of us think, especially when it regards politics. There are things we don't really want to say out loud, but they're things that when you talk down with civilized company that you figure out it's the same, like the two political parties, but both essentially have the same agenda when you compact it, and either way the people get screwed. It was interesting until it looked like the reporter went completely nuts, which I think might have been in the main character's head, where it's like he's watching the news and then his brain just switches. I did like some of the amazing shots, like the up close of water slowly coming out of the bottle, the way he touches the mirror and it looks like it's rippling. They had some amazing effects in this that really gave into the psychosis of the main character, and it worked well with the sound.